better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch is brought to you by Nedbank.
PM Central African time. It is the 20th of November, a beautiful Wednesday afternoon on this very, very beautiful sunny day in Mbabane. We hope that you are having a good day so far as we are about to usher you into the business landscape of Eswatini today. What is it looking like? We are going to have a very, very good one, but a very good afternoon to you. My name is Sifiso Ngumalo. Happy to drive this vehicle with Lungelele as my co-pilot here. I hope there won't be a lot of turbulence. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Good afternoon, Guni, and good afternoon to our viewers as well. This is Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for tuning in. Do watch us on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. We're on DSTV as well, channel 286.
Yeah. Coming up on the show today, we are diving into in fact, it's one of the most pressing conversations that are shaping Eswatini's economic landscape right now, the mid-term budget. It has been recently tabled in Parliament by the Minister of Finance, Neil Reichenberg. And you know what? The budget isn't just a report as it is. It's a strategic lens into, the nation's fiscal health, its priorities, and the policies set to influence everything from public spending to economic growth. I'm going to be joined by economist and analyst Sanele Sibia to unpack the highlights, some of the challenges, as well as the potential implications for ordinary citizens, yourself and me, as well as, some businesses alike, from funding critical infrastructure, as well as some social programs that exist to managing fiscal deficits. We want to explore how the government plans to balance growth ambitions with the economic realities of today. We'll also discuss the ripple effects of these policies on small businesses. As you know, they are the lifeblood of any economy. We also want to look into how it impacts employment. Very, very critical as we battle the scourge of unemployment in Eswatini, as well as the overall investor confidence. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, good afternoon once again. Within the Fraud Awareness Month is the International Fraud Awareness Week from 17th to the 23rd of November. This is a global initiative to combat fraud and also raise awareness through education. From October, which is the Cyber Awareness Month, Nedbank Eswatini has been raising public awareness on ways to protect themselves in this era of technology. Reports reveal that fraud has collapsed many economies, including Eswatini. A study by the ACFE discovered that fraud losses significantly decreased by 38% after fraud awareness campaigns. In the year 2000, the association, which is an international anti-fraud body, raised an alarm where institutions pledged to make efforts to educate employees and also communities on fraud. Nedbank Forensic Risk Manager expert Spalele Makakula Shabang will join us this afternoon to tell us more about the International Fraud Awareness Week. Don't go anywhere. For now, let's go to our first story.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
Welcome back. This is Nedbank Business Watch. It's 5 minutes after 2. Let's get straight into our first story. In an effort to scale up foreign trade, the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority is training diplomats on economic trade. Executive Head Investment Promotion Martin Masilila says in total 25 diplomats are being trained online with an intention to boost the country's participation in trade agreements like the SADC-EU Economic Trade Partnership Agreement, the Continental Free Trade Area, the African Growth Opportunity Area AGOA, and the African Continental Free Trade Area, amongst others.
We've partnered with ITC, the International Trade Center, which is a UN body that is based in Geneva, to actually build capacity of our diplomats to deliver on the aspirations of government with respect to trade and investments. We're basically using them as our extension. We know that our counterparts in other countries, they do have satellite offices abroad where they do direct interface with investors. But for us, since we only have an office in Eswatini, so we basically take advantage of the fact that we have diplomats there. Some are trade attaches, some work as councillors, some first secretaries, but they all assist in terms of trade and investment promotion on the ground. So we want to build their capacity to basically handle the investment as well as trade issues, of course, in partnership with us on the ground. So we want them to actually forge relationships with chambers of commerce and industry associations in their respective stations. And then from there, we can actually build some cases and some value propositions of how to invest in Eswatini. In terms of agreements, we know that in the US we've got the African Growth Opportunity Act, which has been extended till 2042. So essentially it has like more than 6,500 lines. And if you look at our utilization, it's basically low compared to other countries. And therefore, we want the diplomats to actually look for opportunities where Eswatini companies that are producing Eswatini can actually send their goods in the US. Similarly, in the EU, we've got the SADC-EU EPA, which is an agreement that has been in place for quite some time. But as you know, the uptake is very low. So we want to make sure that the diplomats not only understand this, but they also know where to start in terms of assisting us to get investors as well as getting our products into those markets. Similarly, in Taiwan, we've got the Economic Cooperation Agreement that was signed in 2018. And well, for that one, I think there's been a very good growth in terms of the products that we're sending to those markets. Even other agreements, now we're talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We want within the African continent, the embassies that are working there to understand how to drive investors to Eswatini to take advantage of those markets.
Government is decisively reducing the stock of arrears, and projected outturns show that arrears will be fully cleared this financial year. This has been said by the Minister for Finance, Honourable Neil Reichenberg, when presenting the mid-term budget in Parliament.
The Minister for Finance, Honourable Neil Reichenberg, says the total public debt stock is estimated to reach 36.4 billion emalangeni at the end of this financial year, equivalent to 40.8% of the country's gross domestic product. The Minister has previously said despite the debt being above what is recommended by the International Monetary Fund, government has plans to keep things under control as some debts will finish soon. Honourable Neil Reichenberg says net domestic financing is projected at 450 million emalangeni at the end of this year 2024-2025, of which gross domestic financing is 11.6 billion emalangeni and domestic financing needs are 11.2 billion emalangeni. He says the debt stock comprises of 16.8 billion emalangeni, which is 18.8% of the gross domestic product. External debt and domestic debt accounts for 19.7 billion emalangeni, which is 22% of the gross domestic product. This indicates an increase of 7.2% from the previous year. The Honourable Minister says taxes collected during the first half of the financial year amounted to 902 million emalangeni, that is 45.8% of the annually company taxes projected of 1.97 billion emalangeni. Individual taxes, that is pay as you earn, collected at half year amounted to 2.3 billion emalangeni. This equates to 55% collection of the projected annual pay as you earn of 5.26 billion emalangeni and an increase of 494 million emalangeni collected at the same time last financial year. The minister continues to say taxes on goods and services constitute the country's largest contributor to domestic revenue collection. VAT collection remains the largest source of revenue within these taxes. At half year, this totaled to 2.43 billion emalangeni, 50% of the projected outturn of 4.88 billion emalangeni annual VAT collection. A total of 136 million emalangeni has been collected from non-tax revenue as at half-year mark. This is lower than the 224 million emalangeni collected at half-year in 2023-2024. The budget fiscal deficit is at 1.83 billion emalangeni, which is 2.1% of the country's gross domestic product. However, projected outturns show that the deficit is expected to be 953 million emalangeni. For Nedbank Business Watch, Nelson Langamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa Mbabane.
All right, it's 11 minutes after 2. That has been our business news. We still have a lot more to come on the show that you don't want to miss.
Yeah.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. You can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any Nedbank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
All right, so welcome back. You're still watching Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for tuning in. We're joined by Forensic Risk Manager at Nedbank, Eswatini's Palele Emakakwela Shabong. She joins us today to talk about International Fraud Awareness Week. We're still in the month of November, where we are raising awareness on fraud crimes. A very good afternoon, Spa. Thank you for coming in again. You know, this week is this month is an important, critical month where we raise awareness on these particular crimes. How did International Fraud Awareness Week come about?
Okay, thank you so much, and good afternoon to the viewers at home. So in the year 2000, the international, should I say, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, which is an international organization of, should I say, anti-fraud practitioners, they came together. They've been doing studies on how best to combat fraud. And then in that study, it actually came out that the best way to combat fraud is by educating. But most importantly, not just educating anyone, but educating employees. What came out is that when employees were educated on fraud, fraud prevention, awareness, fraud losses actually declined by 38%.
Okay.
That has been actually, that figure has been, making changes throughout the years.
Globally. Okay.
So that has then proved that the best way to combat fraud is through awareness. So in the year 2000, it was then decided that the best approach is to have, this 1 week dedicated to international fraud awareness, where all institutions, organizations, are just encouraged to pledge their efforts into combating fraud. So the expectation is that all organizations are going to give awareness to their staff members, the importance of fraud awareness, prevention, detection, the consequences of fraud in, the whole cycle. So that is what international fraud awareness is about. So in the year 2000, this is where this began, the commemoration of this week began.
Okay, so coming back locally to Eswatini, are we seeing this type of cases decreasing? Because we do run these campaigns, organizations, companies, you run this campaign on social media. People are aware of fraud. Are we seeing cases decreasing?
I should say we are seeing cases decrease. We are seeing, as well as externally, we're seeing fraudsters as well as upping their game as well. It's just like, health. We're seeing that more people, are getting health-wise, diabetes, all these other conditions are growing in the environments that we're in. So basically, it's the environment that we're in. The technological era that we're in comes with certain risks. So this then, makes fraud becomes a higher risk in the environment that we're in. But if we did not have these fraud awareness campaigns, the situation would be dire. I promise you, would have a collapsed economy by now, like literally collapsed economy.
Yeah. And these criminals always target, the festive season. The festive season is approaching. Why is that? Why do they target at this time of the year?
There's a lot that happens during this time of the year. Remember, this time of the year, most people would get bonuses, 13 checks. We'll have stock fails. People are going to be cashing in. So there's going to be a lot of money that is going to be in circulation. So there's a lot of money being at people's disposal. So that is a time that people are going to be targeting. More than that, this is a time where people spend money. It's Christmas, that is where we buy most gifts. So that's where money is going to be spent the most. On holidays, this is the time where we go on holiday. So all the scams are going to be happening during this season. So that is a prime time for these scammers to target us this season.
Okay, so last week, stakeholders gathered the EPA, Eswatini Bankers Association, the Royal Eswatini Police Service to launch officially the International Fraud Awareness Week. And I suppose there were reports, there were presentations. What are the latest trends, the type of fraud that we should be wary of?
All right. It's still, cyber fraud is still the #1 leading scam. But to unpack it, for Eswatini, it is, should I say, account takeovers. That is where, this is the right term that we use, but it has got different categories. So these Fakata scammers, that is an account takeover, where someone will take over your account, There's a lot of different account takeovers. So when someone gains access into your account, even if it's internal, external, that is an account takeover. When there's an unauthorized payment that goes through to your account, that is an account takeover. So those have been, should I say, the highest in terms of occurrences in Eswatini.
Quite shocking.
Yeah.
So what does this week mean to Nedbank Eswatini? Do you have a zero tolerance policy on fraud?
Certainly, certainly. Nedbank Eswatini has zero tolerance, for any fraud, corruption, or any act of dishonesty. We as Nedbank stand together with the world, to say as Nedbank, we're not only educating the public like we have been doing in terms of fraud, but we're also educating our staff members, on conduct, on what is expected of them in terms of fraud prevention and the expectation in terms of the employer regarding, fraud and the expectation in terms of reporting, all that. So just this morning, we had, through our wellness program, we had just a session speaking to our personal finances. These are ways we're going into the festive season. Our employer understands that at the end of the year, we're probably going to be spending a lot of money. January is going to be coming through, school fees and all that. Understands that we're probably going to be exposed, to more spending than we normally would, and the expectation is that we should have, responsible behavior. So they gave us, really, really good training, on that. Okay. That will then help us, to prevent situations where we're going to be borrowing money from everyone, and being, should I say, victims to these fast-making money scams that are coming through. So the expectation is that from a International Fraud Awareness Week, we employers also look into, doing right or doing good to their employers in just giving them information to say, how do you better position yourself in terms of just making sure you're not a victim of circumstance in terms of fraud.
Yeah, with all these awareness campaigns that you're running as Nedbank Eswatini on social media as well as traditional media, do you see a lot of your clients coming through or calling in to report suspected fraudulent activities?
Yes, certainly. What is very interesting throughout this season, what we have seen is that mostly we've received a lot of reports where clients are calling us to say someone almost scammed me in this way. So most of precisely the Fakata scammers, we've received a lot of reports where there was an attempt, someone said, ABCD. They're now aware. So we have never received such reports before, And oftentimes you'd find people falling victims, but we've seen how clients are aware now and understand the risks, and are not just accepting to anyone who's purporting to be anybody in terms of their finances.
Okay. So then how do we as individuals, as companies, institutions protect themselves from being fraud victims?
All right. I think what is important in terms of companies, it's important to have a clear tone at the top. What is your message? What is your position regarding fraud? Don't leave that to interpretation. If you have a zero tolerance to fraud, corruption, or any act of dishonesty, that must be clear. And that message must be clear. And you have to not just talk the talk. You must leave the talk. Management throughout, yes. And as an individual, I should not just be accepting to any money-making scheme that is coming up today. Remember, what happened to WhatsApp gifting? Where is it now? It came through, everyone went crazy. When something comes through, just take a step back, reflect, think about it. Remember, this is your money. There are surveys that are going on right now. There are webinars, free webinars that are out there, fraud awareness, all that. Take this time just to teach yourself and understand all the risks that are coming through with this technology and all the new scams that are coming up with this season.
Yeah, definitely. Lastly, before I let you go, your contact details.
Oh, thank you so much. Right. For Nedbank, in terms of a phone number, we can be reached on 3278 1999. Then for our help desk, it's helpdesk@nedbank.co.za. And also at Facebook, we are at Nedbank Eswatini.
All right, thank you so much, Spalele. Well, there you have it. It is still International Fraud Awareness Week. It was officially launched last week. We're raising awareness on fraud, particularly because we're approaching the festive season. So yes, be careful. As we'll resume shortly.
Kujala masoda mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabadali ukuthi njengalokhu
Sivile sive sitikhulume.
It is 25 minutes after 2. You're still watching NetBank Business Watch. It is a Wednesday. We get into our interview segment now with Sanele Sbia, who is our financial economist. He's going to help us make sense of the mid-term budget that was presented by Honorable Neil Reichenberg, who is the finance minister. Sanele, a very good afternoon to you. Let's start by perhaps breaking down or maybe laying the ground with the opening perspective and how you interpreted the midterm budget review. It is always a critical moment to assess whether government is on track with its initial operations and as well as its projections, really. What stood out for you the most in this review?
Thank you, Mr. Newman, and good afternoon to the viewer. And as you've already stated, that when we talk of the midterm budget review, it's basically an outline of how well the government is actually doing in terms of its expenditures against the planned budget, which was tabled, say, around around February. So what stood out for me was, when you look at certain areas that I particularly worry about when I think of a government budget and how it should be executed. It's more an issue of cash flow timing, together with the expenditure, the real expenditure, what we want to do. So that's one of the first things that we usually worry about, because once we fail to raise the money when it is needed, then that means we then tend to see those disturbances in the economy, and the economy doesn't grow as much as would have hoped. And as you know, that this year's budget was actually one of the factors that we're looking forward to seeing contribute heavily into the national economy. So this was one of the first things that stuck to me, the fact that government still talks around issues of cash flows. But what also I found comfort in was the fact that government is planning to move into a new budgeting system next year, which is most likely going to incorporate these concerns, where you time revenues with the cash flows, so we get the multiplier effect, and also we are able to not only just build expectations at budgeting level, but also manage those expectations. And then when I looked at it as well, there is an issue of the the budget misses. When you miss your target on the budget, that again tends to affect the national economy adversely, because you create an expectation, and expectations are everything in an economy.
Kujala masoda mahle kunathi lesa.
sabadali ukuthi njengalokhu
Sivile sive sitikhulume.
with the profession. So that is one biggest challenge that we have. But we are glad that most organizations have actually recognized or realized that it is important to get procurement people doing procurement in organizations. And also, we see some organizations, even if they've employed you from another field, whether it's marketing, accounting, or law, they will actually take you through a development path
as a procurement professional, so that you get to know exactly the expectation that comes with the function. So that is one challenge. And the other challenge that we have is that most organizations, they still do not recognize the value that comes with the procurement function. You wouldn't be exposed to such things like unaccounted for expenditures, malpractices, and the rest if you have the right people doing the job, because they know what comes with it. And they cannot be easily influenced because there are certain values and standards that govern you as a professional. So yeah, this is the other challenge that we are faced with. And the third challenge is that our institutions of higher learning, they still do not have a qualification that directly relates to procurement and supply, or rather, at least supply chain management. So we are still, in the long run, we are looking to get assistance from government and ESHEC to assist us, assist the country to have at least a stream, whether in the bachelor's, in any bachelor's degree, where you specialize in procurement and supply, because of the importance of the field. Even if you look at the news, that's what's happening around, more often reports that comes out, they are related to procurement. If you have the right people there, probably it will be reduced, apart from people having their own corrupt practices. But really, there would be some form of some change that you can realize if you have got the right people for the job. So those are some of the challenges. It's basically recognition, if I can put it in a much easier way.
We have seen the Eswatini Public Procurement Regulatory Agency trying by all means to professionalize the space. Kahulumende kakhulu indzaba ye procurement ibe inkinga kakhulu because bokhanza ukuthi ngilapho la kuthiwa kwendeka i-corruption kakhulu khona kuze kwachazwa njena kwekuthi sometimes it's not corruption, but it's an issue of the monies haven't been accounted for because maybe government or the public agencies do not have the right professionals for the job. What is it that you are going to do in future to professionalize the space?
Promoting the professionalization of procurement, where we actually need government and as well as the regulator, which is the SPPRA, to assist us have a registered professional body for procurement, and also creating awareness. There's still some organizations that do not have a procurement function, and we want to create the awareness in any organization that is doing business of the value that comes with procurement, so that they can be able to allocate that function into a particular office and make sure that they capacitate it, and then they will be able to recognize the benefits. And then over and above the awareness, it's recognition as well. Procurement professionals, they normally hold their backbenchers in an organization. So we seek to ensure, or we seek to promote recognition of procurement professionals in organizations, because procurement cuts across all departments. Whenever you have to do procurement, it's important that you get a professional to do it for you so they can do it the right way. And then the fourth thing that we are promoting is growth. Yeah, so we want to grow the profession in the country. And remember, we also have young kids who are still upcoming. We want them to be aware of the profession, and also we want to assist them grow by channeling them into the right career path that they should follow. And then we believe that the country will be able to employ them as well as professionals instead of employing professionals from other fields.
It's been a pleasure having you on Nedbank Business Watch, Chairperson. I promise that we'll come back just to find out how far you've gone with all the plans that you have shared with us today. Thank you.
All right, there was Nelsuwe Ndangamandla speaking to Mr. Chauke on the professionalization of the procurement space. We'll go for a net break now. Lungelele speaks to Mazibusiso Dembe from Nedbank. They look at the market analysis for the day. Kujala masada mahle kunathi lesa.
sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu
Sivile sive sithi khulumeni.
Welcome back. You're so tuned into NetBank Business Watch. Thank you for staying with us. It's 12 minutes before 3 p.m. Before we say goodbye, let's take a look at today's financial market analysis with Nozi Busiso Dembe from NetBank Eswatini. Nozi, welcome back. Very good afternoon. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. So, yeah, what's happening on the markets today? I saw that the rand is weakening. What are the reasons for that?
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of days for the rand. After almost 3 weeks of the US dollar strengthening and the rand weakening, on Friday we finally saw firming of the rand. Analysts were saying the 3-week rally was due to just initial reactions from the market about President Donald Trump winning the US elections. But this week we continued to then see the rand short-lived strength, if you ask me. Okay. After the S&P Global Ratings upgraded the country's outlook from stable to positive, citing one favorable trade, continued fiscal expenditure, and finally structural reform. So currently the US dollar against the AZL is trading at 18.1276. The euro against the AZL is trading at 19.1247. And the pound against the AZL is trading at 22.9322. The reason I say it was short-lived, Lulu, is because soon after that, we saw the rand then lose strength due to the increasing tensions between Russia and Ukraine. So we saw that happen throughout yesterday, and then this morning we got inflation data, South African inflation data, which came out a little lower than expected at 2.8%, which then increases the chances for an interest rate cut and also weakens the rand further.
Yeah, speaking of the escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine, how are investors reacting to this?
Yeah, so there's mixed reactions to it, but mainly the market is quite apprehensive. Maybe for context, basically what's happening is that there were reports that Ukraine is using US-supplied long-range missiles to attack Russia. And in retaliation, President Putin then updated their nuclear doctrine to allow them to use nuclear weapons against Ukraine as well. So there's a lot of tension around that, and the market is quite apprehensive about that.
That's right. All right. Let's talk about new data coming out this week. Is it today or tomorrow? What can we expect?
So what we're expecting this week, firstly, tomorrow we have a sub-interest rate decision coming up in the afternoon. And then on Friday, we have our local interest rate decision from the central bank also coming out. The expectation from the market is that both those decisions will be 25 basis points cut from each of the countries, but we can only know when we see the announcement.
All right, so let's get into commodities this afternoon. Brent crude oil and gold. What impacts do the escalating tensions have on the prices of gold and oil today?
So currently, the price of Brent crude is increasing, trading at $75.89 per barrel. And the reason behind that is mainly the increasing tensions between Russia and Ukraine, but also an expected increase of demand for oil from China, being one of the largest importers of oil. And then on the gold side, gold is currently trading at $2,623.77 per ounce. And we've seen the price of gold ease today after a 1-week high due to US dollar strengthening. But what has capped the losses from the dollar is the safe haven demand that's coming from the US dollar, from the Russia and Ukraine tensions.
Okay, so quite a lot is happening due to the tensions between Russia and Ukraine. So moving on to equities this afternoon, is there any activity happening there?
So in the equity space, the S&P 500, which tracks the performance of US companies, has risen a bit this morning, mainly driven by Walmart, which increased by 3%, and also Tesla, which increased by a further 2%, making its month-to-date increases currently 37%. So if you'll remember, when Donald Trump won the elections, the price of Tesla started to spike up. So it's just been on an upward rally since then. On the JSE All-Share Index side and the FTSE side, we have marginal weakening from both, mainly driven by the tensions again around the Russia and Ukraine war.
Okay, so just one last question, two last questions before I let you go. I saw that yesterday the dollar was much higher against the Japanese yen. How is it performing today?
So today I'd say it's relatively the same, but the bigger issue is more with the US dollar, because there's so much going on that affects the dollar, and you know that when the US sneezes, everyone catches a cold. So that's where most of it is driven from. Yeah.
All right. Any added data that you can expect to be released this week?
We also have retail sales data. I think that's going to be released sometime this afternoon, which is expected to affect the ZAR. But other than that, it's really just the interest rate decisions coming out of the two countries, South Africa and Eswatini.
All right. Thank you so much, Zibu. That was Treasury dealer Nozibusiso Tembe from Nedbank Eswatini giving us today's financial market analysis. Thank you for staying with us. Let's go for an ad break. We'll resume shortly.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu
Sifile sive sitikhulume.
Right, thank you for watching Nedbank Business Watch. It's 5 minutes before 3 o'clock. If you've just joined us, worry not, you can still rewind on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV, at 2 p.m. So just a recap of what we discussed today. We are still on International Fraud Awareness Week, so we were joined by Forensic Risk Manager at Nedbank Eswatini, Palele Magakula Shabang, just taking us through on the precautions that we should be wary of during this month, particularly because we're approaching the festive season. That's where criminals target, ordinary Eswatini institutions, companies with regards to fraud.
Yeah, we did do sort of an x-ray into the review of our midterm budget, obviously from what the Honorable Minister of Finance, Neil Reichenbach, pronounced a few days ago when he presented the review. It was just a pulse check, really, into, how we are moving so far when we look into the trajectory that was set when the year started. As we look at closing the fiscal year, are we on a positive trajectory, or it's some areas that we still really have to improve on? Sanele Svia chimed into, we are doing a great job. It did credit the Eswatini Revenue Service with some of the work that it has done, as well as some of the stakeholders that work to improve the economy of Eswatini. But above everything and anything, more work still has to be done. And hopefully with the next fiscal year, a lot is going to be done in terms of meeting all these aspirations and ambitions to make our economy healthy once again. Otherwise, from myself and Lungalele, it has been really lovely to have you join us on this edition of Nedbank Business Watch. Do stay tuned for other programs on Eswatini TV and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.
Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch was brought to you by Nedbank.